Welcome back to Tuning In. This is a very special series where I'm bringing you real, live, intuitive soul sessions so you can experience this work from the inside. These are one-on-one coaching sessions, not readings, where I work directly with someone using my mind, body, spirit method, combining mindset coaching, nervous system and body awareness, intuitive guidance, and energy work. The intention here isn't just to talk about tuning in, it's to show you what it actually looks like to move through blocks, access what's in the blind spot, and create real shifts in real time. Each session is completely unscripted. I don't do any research beforehand. Everything you hear is what's coming through in the moment. These sessions are here to give you a deeper understanding of what conscious coaching really is. If you're listening, there's something here for you too. And if you're feeling called to experience this work for yourself, you can find out more about intuitive soul sessions, the mind, body, spirit method, and conscious coaching in the show notes. You'll also find details on how to book a session, or if you're feeling called to learn how to do this work for yourself or others, you can explore the conscious coaching certification program there as well. All right, let's tune in. Before each intuitive soul session, we move through a preparation to work behind the scenes, connecting with spirit, the high self, and spirit team to ground, clear, receive, and protect the energy. While this isn't shared in the episode, it allows the session to unfold from a neutral, safe, and fully supported space. All right, so let's dive in. Let's see what wants to come through. So, is there anything specific that you wanted to touch on today? Do you have a question or an area of focus? No. Okay.
I want to see what my spirit guides are saying.
See what the spirit guides are saying. Beautiful. So I was kind of telling you that there was some stuff that was already coming through as before we pop on to the session. And it's kind of funny because you started to talk about them a little bit before, and I was like, wow, okay, we are like right in this. This is so great. So the first thing that I kept getting, actually, the message that was coming through is she's intuitive. She's intuitive. Like, she's really intuitive. And they're kind of showing me this part of like, that, but there is this piece of trusting it. Do I fully trust it? Like, I know that I'm intuitive and I can connect with things, but there's some things that come up when you're like, oh my gosh, is this my intuition? Am I fully able to trust this? So there's a few things that are kind of coming up around that. And you had mentioned something about, inner child. And what I'm seeing with the trusting of the intuition specifically is there's just some old programming that's running, in those moments of, is this my intuition? Is this not my intuition? Like, what is this decision that I'm supposed to be making here? And it's just this old programming that's coming up from your childhood. So I don't know if there was something like, what I'm getting is like, you as a child were probably, I see like a very free-spirited child, but that might have been like suppressed a little bit. You weren't maybe fully allowed to express yourself in the way that you wanted to. And it kind of quieted that intuition piece, or the trust. It didn't quiet the intuition. It quieted your self-trust, your trust in yourself. And so it created this protective piece for you, because you didn't want to, not like that you would get hurt by making the wrong decision, but you wanted to make the right decision. There was a bit of people pleasing involved potentially. And it's like, okay, I want to make the right decision. I don't want to like screw up. I want to do the right thing. And sometimes maybe that wasn't being as true to you as it could have been. And I do see that like kind of starting in earlier childhood, but maybe more like teenage years, where it was like, as we all go through as a teenager, like, who am I? What am I doing? Like all of those types of things. So it's very common, but some specific programming that I am actually getting the message to do a bit of clearing around that today. So we'll take a look towards, later, a little bit later on. But specifically, I also got that are you contemplating some changes, or is there like a decision coming up, or that a decision that you've been like kind of thinking about in regards to intuition? And this might be something that you're already experiencing or might be coming up, um, where your intuition, I don't like to use the word tested, but it's kind of going to be tested, or it's being tested for you to say, okay, is this what I really want? Or is there something else for me in this space? So I don't know. How does all that feel so far?
Okay. So based off of what you're saying, inner child issues, totally. I have been working on those actively. Last weekend, I kind of sat in this workshop, and there were about 7 to 8 hypnotherapists from all parts of the world. And it was a gentleman, and he was doing a demo. And so he did a demo on this lady who was in the workshop, and she probably was north of 65. Um, and you can tell right away a lot of emotions. There's definitely some trauma she needed to heal with. So while he was using her as the demo, I decided to kind of sit in as a borrower and just kind of myself. I was able to get to middle school, and I started asking myself, when was it that I first started to lose confidence in myself? What was it? And I remember I hated 7th grade, which is weird because I loved 6th grade. I didn't miss a day of school. I loved it. Or 7th grade? I remember just not liking 7th grade. But I remember 8th grade is when all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I couldn't serve when I was playing volleyball. And in 7th grade, I was an MVP player, starter server. I mean, I never even served underhand. It was always overhand right away. But for some reason, 8th grade, I lost it. And my serves weren't going through anymore. Now, I don't know if that was the instance or if there was something that happened in that time, but there was something that happened in that time frame, is what I'm thinking. Child, I mean, I was such an ugly kid, and I know everybody says it, but I was really an ugly kid. And it was that I was very sickly. When I was 2 years old, I got extremely sick. And that illness, my fevers would go up to 104, and it lasted for 3 months. And my parents had no idea what to do, but obviously my immune system was shocked because of that. It really changed my facial structure. I mean, I'm in that very tender age. And then after that, up until maybe middle school, actually, yeah, definitely middle school and onwards, I would get sick every Friday without fail. Coming from school, fever, Sunday, fever's gone. So that lasted for over like nearly a decade. I had eczema on my face. I used to suck my thumbs. I had little buck teeth also. So, and then along with that, my parents really didn't give me a chance either, because my little cousins had shaved their head bald. And I was like, I want to shave my head bald too, because I wasn't a quiet, ugly child. I was just an ugly child, but I was a very loud, robust, ugly child. And I was like, I want to shave my head. And my parents were not like how parents are now. Is that a smart choice? They didn't do that. They took me straight to Fantastic Sam's, put me on the chair, and said, she wants to shave her head. And they shaved my head. So then I was a 7-year-old ugly kid with eczema and buck teeth and Ethiopian skinny with a shaved head.
Beautiful.
It was phenomenal. However, I was still a loudmouth. My personality was never affected. I wasn't an introvert. Um, I can't say I was bullied, because if somebody tried to bully me, I still had a smart mouth. And so I can't say I was bullied. I can't say I ever felt inferior. But I will say that there are certain memories that do pop up now. And when certain little memories pop up, whether it's the temple that my parents started taking me to or whatnot, there were moments when I was always kind of where I felt like, how come it's so much harder for me? How come this new girl just walked in and she's just surrounded by all the other girls? How come no one wants to play with me? And I do remember feeling that. I do remember feeling like it was almost like harder for me
Mm-hmm.
but it also didn't phase me. That's the interesting part. And that's when I look back and I think of it now, it was my soul was really strong. I just didn't understand it at the time. Um, my soul has always been very strong. I've always kind of danced to my own tune. Um, Even from 15, the second I had my first heartbreak, I immediately what's my takeaways? I was using rebound. I will never do that to somebody. And as a 15-year-old, I knew that.
Yeah.
So the soul was always strong.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm able to understand that. So
Mm-hmm.
now I'm putting the pieces together. What happened when? And do I need to really know? I don't really need to know, but I do need to heal from it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's
Yeah.
that part.
Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate the context because it is interesting. You talk about, your soul being very strong, and there's a reason why you chose this lifetime, right? There's a reason why you came into this body and with these challenges at this young age and all of these things. And to an extent, I believe that your soul is very strong. But I think that there's also this piece that's kind of coming through of you had to be strong. It's not that you wanted to be strong. There's a part of you that's like the soul was strong. The ego had to build up this protection. Yes, yeah, had to be strong and was like, okay, I don't want to feel weak. I don't want to feel, um, you know, that people don't like me. So I'm going to put up this protection. And sometimes I think that there's maybe this distinguishing the difference between, is this really strong, or did I have to create this strength to not get hurt? You
Exactly.
know? And so there's something there where it's like, oh, I can feel like the layers shedding a little bit right now of like, what if we didn't have to be so strong? What if we could actually just be that soft, weaker version of ourselves for a little bit and be like, oh, okay, and feel held in that space. There's a big part of that that's like, okay, my 2-year-old self with eczema and, buck teeth, like, let's hold her. And then, oh my gosh, middle school, where I kind of lost my personal power a little bit in this new transitionary phase of life, of, childhood to not adulthood, I guess quite yet, but like moving up and in that different phase. I also got a message too that as a young child and your soul coming through with everything that you went through, you were really open energetically and available. Like you had very little boundaries. So it's interesting that your immune system was kind of showing up as on guard. It's because you're like a very bright soul, like a very bright, shiny light. And part of it is interesting because part of your path in this lifetime is to build up boundaries. So it's like creating that protection is part of your purpose here. However, it's finding the balance between the two of like, what do I want to let in? What do I want to, take a second look at before I allow that in? What do I need to protect for myself? Where can I fully open myself up to receive? All of those. That's part of your like journey here, right? Is to learn those lessons.
It's so funny because I have been obviously doing a deep dive. And before I can try to help others, I have to put on my own oxygen mask, right? I just gave that advice on Reddit. But it's so funny because now when I think about the purpose, and the purpose is ever evolving, the purpose is always evolving. But when I really think about the patterns, because once you start seeing patterns, you can't stop. And you just are like, oh, these dots are connecting so obviously that it almost kind of makes you think, how is nobody else seeing this?
Mm.
It's so obvious, so apparent to me. And what I have determined is my soul chose so wisely. My soul chose my parents so wisely. My soul chose everything so wisely. Balance. My soul's purpose in this life is not to become the spiritual guru. It's not to attain enlightenment. It's not any of that. My soul's purpose is balance.
Mm.
Are two sides of the same coin. If my mom, from a hypnotherapist lens, if my mom operates on her 10% conscious mind, my dad operates solely on his 90% subconscious. It's insane. If my mom's entire family, and she's one of 7, and I have 15 first cousins, they're all attachment, ego and attachment. My dad's side, he's one of 8, they're all detachment. They don't talk to each other. There's no drama, but no one talks. Her side, they all talk. So they're like, we're such a loving family, but it's constant fighting. And so when I sit there, I'm like, I've spent my entire life being the balance between my parents.
Mm.
And I went to India and I ended up staying for 14 months. So I was supposed to go for 2 and I ended up staying for 14. I like to say I got slapped by the spiritual slapstick. So that happened. And everybody kept telling me, they're like, Dimple, you are surrounded. And if you remain where you are, you won't survive.
Mm.
Like, you need to figure out how to remove yourself. And me, I'm like physically remove myself? Do I need to physically go live elsewhere? And they're like, no. And that's actually how my journey in India started. I had to learn, I had to understand what grounding, I had to understand what surrendering, and it still took me a long time. Now I'm like, this is what it means. I'm the balance, but I've allowed myself to be the balance.
Mm.
I need to move myself and observe simply by being a balance,
Yes.
but from an observing standpoint.
Mm. All makes a lot of sense. I think in this discovery journey that I feel you're on of like, what is my truth in all of this, right? And generationally, ancestrally, plays a big part. It plays a huge part in how you show up and the programs and all of that are running. But I still see this like, okay, if I take all of this away, if I take everybody out of it, even though they do make up a piece of who I am, what is left over for me to explore in this? Because there's something really magical that I see, and it's almost like the visual I get is this like flame, but it's like a rose flame almost. Like this rose is on fire flame, and it's kind of like these petals of like pulling the petals back that still make up the flower, you know? But what is at the center? What is that sweet, like nectar of you at the center of that rose?
It's what you're saying is exactly my thing right now. I'm like, I'm there. I'm almost there. What is it? That's probably why I sat in that workshop last week, and I even reached out to another friend and I was like, I need a session. I need something. I'm I'm right there. I'm getting all revelations. I'm getting different understandings. I think just yesterday, when they say, let the emotion wash over you. And I say it, I even tell my clients that. But yesterday, I truly understood what it meant
Mm.
when it was, oh, first I have to be careful of my own triggers because our thoughts are constantly going. And little thoughts that I even have, those are also constantly causing itty bitty little triggers. And the reality of it is, there's not a wave of emotion that's actually going through my body. The thing is, my body is already buzzing all the time, but that trigger is disrupting it. So it's bringing attention to it. So that little revelation came through. So now, anytime a thought comes in, there's an easy flow.
Yeah.
Washes over me, and I'm like, okay. So I feel like I'm getting closer, but yes,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
there's a
Your
there's a thing.
guides want you to know it's a lot closer than you think, and not in a timeline frame point. It's inside of you. You
Yeah,
know, I see like
this
often with clients, yeah, it's
it's
within,
all
it's
buzzing.
within. And it's funny because when we were doing the preparation to work, I got called directly first to the heart space. So it's like this flower, this rose that's within the heart space, that's where it is. And I have other clients where it's more of a North Star,
Okay,
that they're searching towards, or they're like directed towards this North Star. But for you, it's within you. It's so like, it's part of who you are. And so it's not really that you have to go searching for it. It's like,
I need access.
once you peel away the things that aren't you, it will reveal itself to you. Yeah, it's very beautiful. It's coming forward, and you're doing this work right now. Like, it's all coming through, and this is just confirmation. Your guides are like, you're right there. It's coming. She's doing it. It's coming forward, and the word nectar comes forward. It's like this. It's very nourishing. This thing that's coming forward for you. It's like you kind of mentioned a little bit earlier too, is that what you do for yourself is how you're going to serve outwardly, right? So this nectar is like something very true for you that you will realize is now meant for you to give away, right? It's like, here's this for me that I've received and I've recognized and I've fully owned this. And it's almost like I get the visual of you taking this flower and handing it to the next person, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have chills.
Yeah, no, I have little goosebumps right now. And it's really funny because I'm that person that's, even my sessions, anything that I do, I'm a basic person. Get to the basics. My language, sometimes even in my classes and my courses and my mentors, and we're talking and talk about like quantum. My inner child does not understand quantum leaps and timeline jumps or any of that. And I feel like a lot of people, they want simple language because I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to your inner child. And I'm a believer in taking it back to the basics. And I remember we were sitting in a class and something came up and I forgot what the subject was, but it kind of got off track into the woo side of things. And it was all the students were like, we do this or we do that and talk to the ancestor. And I just jumped in. I'm like, I get all of it. I get all of it. But here's the thing. Sometimes when we're on this journey, we go so heavy into the woo that we forget that we're actually here to learn from our human experience. So how about instead of saying, where can I get my next ayahuasca, um, fix from? And instead say, how do I work on my daddy issues? Because that's the basic. That's the human experience. You can chase all the plant medicine you want. But what I've learned is when I get a call to do something, that's when I'm getting data and information. If I chase it, I'm not. And so even with intuition, I am trusting it a lot more. This past week was the first time when I did sessions with my clients and I did not use a script or anything. And I just went strictly just based off of my knowing and my intuition and what I was getting from them. And after my session, my client messaged me later that night and she goes, I'm sorry it's so late, but I wanted to thank you. I felt something shift within me and I booked a gig. And that was the session. She was frustrated. She goes, I can't seem to book a gig. And I was like, let's work with us. Let's manifest. Let me teach you how to manifest. And so
Yeah.
she told me that it was that confirmation that, okay, Dimple, now you learned the language. You've learned the language, you've picked up the tools. Trust yourself in your deliverance. Your superpower is your voice and your energy.
Yes. Yes.
Fourth.
Yes. The trust. I think that's the biggest piece is in that trust, and the balance of the boundaries is really coming through. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to kind of see what other directions we want to go in. I did get a message at the beginning that there might be some energy work that we want to do around old programming and things like that. But let me just see here. And if you have any questions or anything that are kind of coming up for you, we can dive into that too. So there is something that wants to clear. Let me just see. Yeah. So what's coming up is actually trauma patterns and fields is sort of there. And when I tap in energetically, these can be things that are currently consciously expressed in your energy field. They can be things that are remnants of past experiences that are still in your energy field that are subconscious or that you're not aware of.
Okay.
So what I'm getting from this is directly related to childhood, young childhood. Actually, the number 2 came up. So it's funny that you were talking about that age specifically. And when I use the word trauma, basically, it encompasses any sort of discomfort or acute situation that has changed the course of how you show up in the world, right? So yeah, that's kind of what is coming up to clear the patterns in the fields. So it's not necessarily like, okay, here we go, we're just going to magically clear your trauma. This is actually the patterns that have been created from that and the fields that are sort of resonating at that frequency. So I'm just going to mark that down. We'll do a divine reset as we complete this. So I'm going to add that in. Trauma patterns and fields.
I do have some age 2.
Okay.
So I did, are you familiar with Vipassana?
I'm not.
Okay. So Vipassana is the 10-day silent meditation.
Okay.
Yeah. And Vipassana is essentially the 2,500-year-old ancient meditation practice that Gautama the Buddha the technique that he came up with. So they have Dhamma, that's the name of the organization. They have centers all around the world. They even have me. They have many everywhere. It's free. 10 days. They provide accommodations, donation based. In any case, I did my first 2 when I was in India. And the second one I remember I was sitting in the meditation and it wasn't as tumultuous as the first one. That first one was really hard. But the second one, I got a little bit better about it. But there was one, you learn now that when you're sitting in these meditations, your pain's going to come up. Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of people, you'll get, I can't sit for that long. I can't sit for that long. But the truth is, if you're able to sit, you technically can sit for that long. There's no physical reason why your body can't. So the way I like to describe Vipassana is think of like a thick rope with really tight knots. And that rope is your soul trajectory. It's everything that you have accumulated. The trauma, everything that you have, right? So these knots are all those little bits of trauma or whatnot. And when you're sitting in Vipassana, you're not doing anything. There's no chance. There's no meditation. You're simply observing head to toe. That's all you're doing. No judgment, not identifying, nothing. Sometimes you'll feel pain. You'll feel certain sensations that come up. You observe them without judgment. If your leg starts hurting, you also don't move. You observe without judgment. So luckily, my second sitting, I was now really understanding that I have to sit through it. And so pain flared up in my right leg. And I mean, it's bad. It's like your bone's going to break. But I was like, I'm sitting, whatever it says, breathe in, breathe out, get over it. So eventually I got past it. The pain dissolved. I was walking afterwards, shaking it off. And it hit me. When I was a kid, when I was 2, my parents had moved to India for a year. My dad had gotten laid off, so we had gone to India. Now, when I was born like bow-legged. So I couldn't sit Indian style. All those cute little yoga moves babies do. I couldn't do it. And my mom took me there at 85. So my grandmother there, she hired a masseuse. And for 6 months, this masseuse was massaging my legs down so I could sit. Now imagine at our age doing like the splits and you can't, and somebody's massaging you down while you're there in that pain. So that is the trauma that 2-year-old Dimple had.
Okay.
And immediately after that, I kept getting sick. So everything I know, these are not stories that are unheard of. I know all of them. Mm-hmm. But that moment when it came up, it was my body saying, you know it, but your body remembers the pain and the trauma. And it all came up. And then I cried for that little Dimple.
Yeah.
Like 2-3 days, I cried for that Dimple that went those massages. And I also cried for that little baby Dimple that was constantly getting sick. Because it's not as though the illness and everything remained there. I was tested for leukemia in 2014. I have always been through 6 to 7 rounds. One time I went through 11 rounds of antibiotics in a year. Sinus infections, hypothyroidism, all of it. You know what? Now it's been 3 years, no antibiotics. My thyroid is gone. My eyes got better. I have 6 hernias in my back. I'm still a yoga teacher and I still do everything.
Yeah.
So physically, I got past it. When I understood, Spiritually, when I healed, it was okay, you have paid off your karma now.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
the body symptoms are going to reflect that. So I did go through that.
Okay. That makes
I,
a lot of sense. There is a lot of, and it's interesting that you were saying that about the healing because it's showing it's an energetic level.
yeah,
So
that
it's not a physical level, it's not an emotional level even, right? So there's a lot of emotion that was in that space and you talking about crying that out is huge. And not that always crying is connected with emotion, but in this case, yes. So it's showing sort of just the remnants, of that is in your field still. So it's like, and I don't believe in coincidences. There's a reason you're here today. And I honestly feel like this is a big part of it in allowing this to finally let go. So yeah, we'll
I think
definitely.
that I think that's what that part is, right? It's you heal from the childhood trauma. And a year ago, when I had, so I've barely been back for a year now.
Hmm.
And so
Okay.
when I first got back into the States, I was like, who am I going to talk to? What the heck am I coming back to? It's like I'm starting over again. And I detached for 3 weeks when I got back. And I just stepped away from everything, no phone, no music, nothing. And at that time, I just started decluttering. And then I just like kind of sat in meditation. And I'm not one of those women that have had this desire for biological children. Some have it naturally. I've never had it. And whenever I was in my last relationship, which was over a decade ago, I was like, yeah, cool, maybe we'll have kids. I'll name them after you. I don't really care. But since then, there hasn't been that. And I here with the Child Advocacy of Fort Bend. So even in my early 20s, I would want to foster or adopt. But I've never been like, I want my own kid. In the last year or more, the only kid that I've ever really, really wanted to play with and pick up and hug was little baby Dimple.
Mm.
That little girl is the one I wanted to like. So last year, a year ago, I sat in meditation and I was in my bed and then I got to play with that little Dimple
Mm.
and I cried. Like I picked her up and I hugged her and dude, she was such a cutie. And I just hugged her and it was really cathartic. And
Yeah.
I felt that release. And I realized that this year I have tried to step in and I am stepping in, but I've been stepping it with a certain perspective. And that is it's serious. When you think about spirituality and you see even the circles and you see the retreats, it's all so serious. Healing is so serious. And I've been abiding by that. And that's where a couple of weeks ago I was like, whoa, no, no, no. The balance is that little girl needs to come back out and play.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
That energy right there
Hmm.
is what I'm let going of, but I need to not. I need to bring it back in. That energy was muddled for a while. I've been clearing it out. Time to invite that energy back in. So that's kind of where I came to
Hmm.
last
Yeah.
couple. I
Yeah.
don't know if
Coming back to the balance too, right? And I'll
that's
be fully transparent. Balance is not one of my favorite words to use because I think, it's okay to be all in one area for a season and then go all in another area for that season. And you don't have to be 50-50 all of the time or even have 60-40 or whatever it is, right? But I think this is part of riding the waves and the spectrums of all of it. Like you're here to experience all of it in this lifetime. Like you're like,
balance.
I signed up for this roller coaster and today we're on the high and then tomorrow, we're loop de looping and then, and you're just kind of like, let's do this. Where
It's
do I go?
and I think that's the thing. I've been on this ride, and for me, everything's gone really quick.
Hmm. Yeah.
And some friends of mine that I speak with, one of them, he was the one that really helped guide me actually when I was in India. He randomly called me and he's like, I've been meditating for 12 years. He goes, you should read this book, Autobiography of a Yogi,
Mm.
and all this. And I'm kind of like, okay. And then when I hear everything, I'm like, okay, okay. Yeah. My Spidey senses are being activated. Cool story, bro. Like that's kind of how I was.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I am born into a Hindu family.
Yeah.
But he's the one who really introduced me to it. And he's like, I've been meditating for 12 years. I met my first guru in the Himalayas in 2012 or this and that. And I'm like, okay. Towards the end of that year, when we're talking, he goes, Dimple, I can't keep up with you anymore. He goes, when we were talking, you were a different person. And I was having to explain things to you. And now, not even a year later, I can't keep up with you. He's like, do you have any idea what rate your journey has traveled at? How fast you've gone?
Mm-hmm.
And I obviously have nothing to compare it to, so I don't know. But when I really think about it, it's such a short amount of time for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Yeah.
it's
So
sometimes
I am getting the reason for that is because you were already awakened in your most recent lifetime. And so this one, this lifetime, it's gone, whoop, let's just turn up the dial a little bit. We're going to do this on like
I
fast.
blame ayahuasca unlocked it.
There we go.
She did
Yeah.
it. She called me and she did it.
Mm. Mm-hmm. So yeah, there's definitely an opportunity now for further integration into that. A lot of grounding, bringing it into, okay, now how do I apply this? Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Okay. Let me so we're going to do that and then I'm just going to see where we want to go here. Okay. So I'm actually getting called towards an ascended master in particular here. So let me see. Okay. So the ascended master that's coming forward for you. And when this happens, so I'm using my charts. Um, I will say this can have a couple of different meanings. This is meaning that this would be somebody for you to connect with for a certain purpose, to call in to your meditations, to seek guidance from, or there is a sense that this ascended master is already present with you and your energy. So I'm actually just going to double check here. Okay, so this makes sense. So I haven't memorized all of the ascended masters and what they do, but this is the ascended master, and I might not pronounce this right, but it's Babaji. And I don't know if you've ever heard of this.
Babaji.
Babaji, yes. Okay. Did you already say this?
Right now,
Yeah, did you
well,
already?
when you're saying Babaji, is there a picture or is it just a word?
So it's just the word, but it is the ascended master
Yeah.
Babaji. And
So
it
usually
connects with
usually,
yogi.
yeah, usually when they talk about Babaji, it's Mavdar Babaji.
So that is who's coming forward for you. I've never had that ascended master come forward for any of my other clients before. Basically saying a legendary immortal yogi and guru who's said to be living in the Himalayas. This is wild. He is said to have taught multiple revered historic yogis.
I have a story after this.
Okay. And yeah, first became recognized through the writings of the Paramahansa. Yes, Yoganda. Yes, exactly. The autobiography of a yogi. Okay. Interesting. Okay. So yeah, all of this is coming through for you to connect with on your journey. This is what, and I like my chart has a list of a whole bunch of different ascended masters, and this is the one that my pendulum drew me to. And I didn't know who who this is. So this is pretty crazy. Wow. Yeah. Did you want to say your story?
Okay. So Mavdar Babaji, when you get a chance,
Mm-hmm.
look him up. He is an immortal.
Yes.
And a lot of like so Paramahansa Yogananda. Paramahansa Yogananda is really big in the West. So when he was born and raised in India, Mavdar Babaji, so his guru was Sri Yuktesmukh Yuk. You know what? But his guru was essentially right underneath Babaji. Oh, Paramahansa Yogananda's guru, his guru as a teacher was this other guy whose name I can't remember right now. But they're all under Mahathir Babaji. Mahathir Babaji is under Krishna, and they have a connection to Jesus. So if you ever look up Ananda, really big in the West, he actually passed away in California. So his samadhi and everything is over there. My friend in Houston is the one who leads the chapter, by the way, which I didn't even know until I was in India. And so when I was in India, what happened is I had a paralysis attack and I ended up in a government hospital in the middle of nowhere, India. My parents were losing it. They're like, what is happening to her? And I couldn't move. I just dropped and I was fully conscious, fully aware, but I couldn't talk. I could not communicate. And when I was able to talk a little, it's like I had a stroke. And so that's how I was talking. So my parents were freaking out even more. And I was like, I'm so sorry. And my dad's like, what's up? And I was like, I'm paralyzed. And my dad's like, you're not paralyzed. And I saw my entire life. I saw myself getting wheeled out of the airport at IAH, and my parents were wheeling me. But in my mind, there was a level of calm. And it was, all right, God, this is your plan. I accept it. I'm good. And just move forward with that. Eventually, I came out of it. The next day, I'm Googling psychogenic blackouts because I'm still applying science to what's going on. The doctor messages me and he goes, you need to meditate. And he sends me meditation links. Wow. So I was like, psychiatrist, meditation. You know what? Meditation is free and I'm in India. Let's do this. And so a couple of weeks later, I'm back in Bombay. And my parents were going somewhere else. And they were like, Dimple, what are you going to do? And I was like, I think I'm going to do this meditation thing. But now I'm in India. Where do I go? And I don't know if you've been to India or not.
I haven't yet.
Okay. When you go, because you're going, maybe with me, but when you go, everyone has an opinion. One has an opinion, and everyone's opinion is the best. That's just how it is there. So everyone's like, Dimple, go here, go here, go here. And I could not figure out where to go. And my friend said, read Autobiography of a Yogi. So I was like, all right. So got the book, shipped it back home with mom and dad. And I was like, Autobiography of a Yogi, but I'm going to say the cool story. Got it. Later on, I was walking on the beach with my dad. A friend from Dallas, he sees my post and he messages me and goes, Tims, you're over there? Go to this cafe, Ananda Cafe. It's awesome. So I was like, cool. Saved it in my Google Maps. Later that night, now I'm Googling psychogenic blackouts and spiritual awakenings because I'm still trying to find the connect. Through that, I come across Kriya Yoga. Kriya Yoga leads me to Kundalini. Kundalinis lead me to Paramhansa Yogananda. As soon as that came out, it just clicked. And immediately, it was the first time that I listened to my intuition where it was, you're going here. No one in India knew who Paramahansa Yogananda was because he's big in the West. No one knew. And I was like, I'm going here. This is where I'm going. And they're like, okay. I end up there. So I learned how to meditate in Kriyananda's house. But the day I get there, the Acharya ji, who is a lovely older white male from Arizona, who's over there, he's like, there's another retreat that's going to be here. This retreat is not part of Ananda. They're just using the space. There's a beautiful space in the mountains. Since we meet the lady that evening. She is heading the retreat. So she's like, can I join you for dinner? She joins us. Now we're in conversation. And my trip to go there was very last minute. Date changes and stuff and made it happen. She's like, you should market this place. It's beautiful. And she's telling that guy that. And he goes, yeah, this is really for Ananda. We're not trying to market it. And she goes, okay. And he goes, well, then how did you hear about it? Because she booked everything in that week also. And she goes, Babaji came to me. So that's when I learned she's a transmuter and the guides talk through her. Very similarly to what you're doing. But she goes, Babaji came to me and said, you need to go here. You need to have a retreat. It needs to start on this day. And she goes, I actually argued with him. And I was like, I don't have time for this. But he goes, you have to go. And she goes, I have a week. How am I going to get people together? And he goes, don't worry, it's going to happen. In a week, she was able to get 10 people together for this retreat. Yeah. And this guy that runs the place, was like, yeah, that's exactly what happened. And they were already kind of butting heads because he's like Ananda teachings and she's just kind of out of nowhere. And here I am in the middle of this whole thing. And he's like trying to pull me. And I don't know what she was doing. But eventually she finds out that I randomly showed up there. And so her and I get to talking. And then she just stares at me. And she goes into this weird trance. So she doesn't say anything. And then she waited until the guy left. And then after she left, she looks at me and she goes, I'm here for you. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? And she goes, I didn't realize what I was doing. But then Babaji just came to me and said, I'm here for you. I need to talk to this. Like, he came to me and said, you need to talk to this girl. You need to work with her. Yeah. And that weekend, I had to, one, learn how to balance between the two. I didn't learn anything Ananda, nothing. But she took me under her wings and she explained spirituality to me. She spent 4 hours that first night explaining it to me from a very foundational, basic level. No guru, no teaching. She goes, you have a purpose. She goes, when you did ayahuasca, you didn't want to go do it. You were called because it was time for you to wake up. She goes, now you have work to do. It is not your time to go back to America. And can you imagine how profound that one interaction with her was, that I did not come back to America?
Mm-hmm.
A year later, after spending 4 months in the Himalayas and everything, a year later, I land back in Bombay and I rented a place and there were books. And I was talking to that friend from Cali and he goes, hey, did you ever read Autobiography of a Yogi? And I was like, dude, that book is that big. No, I sent it home. I'll read it later.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, yeah, don't worry about it. And then while I'm talking to him, I hear a crash and he goes, what'd you do? I was like, I don't know. I go and I look and there's a little, like a pillar and she had a bunch of books on there and the pillar had fallen over. And I will send you a picture of this. I'll email it to you. But basically when it fell over, all the books fell over and they were all upside down. One book fell face up in the middle of a dolly. And that book was Autobiography of a Yogi. And Paramahansa Yogananda is staring right at me. And I'm like, tell my friend, you're not going to believe this. He goes, girl, you better pick up that book. I did. And I finished reading that book. My last chapter, I finished my last day of Bombay.
Wow. This
Yeah.
is wild.
Yeah. And
So
to
this
hear
is
that you're like Babaji is like, and my friend has been trying to get me to come to the Ananda stuff.
yeah.
And I'm not going to say I've been resisting it. I haven't felt a pull towards it, which is exactly what I told him. I was like, I'm born and raised here. But when it comes to chants and mantras and stuff, it doesn't resonate with me when it's with the Western accent. I don't know if that makes sense.
For sure. For sure. And you know what? The message that is coming through is not necessarily to gather in the Ananda way. It's direct line of connection
It's Babaji.
with Babaji. It's
Uh,
directly. You have a direct line of connection there.
yeah. Now you're actually confirming it. I haven't thought about this and since that encounter 2 years ago. So you saying it, okay. Yeah. Okay. You gave me a start.
I had no idea who this master,
Really?
this master was.
Yeah,
Pardon?
look into it. Yeah, look
Yeah, I
into my
will, for sure. To
Paramahansa
learn
Yoga.
more. Mm-hmm.
I think you'll
Very strong.
just kind of knowing who he is because a lot of different, especially like gurus and stuff, like there's Ramana Maharshi.
Yeah,
Have you heard of Ramana Maharshi?
I have. Yeah.
So I went to the Arunachalam. I walked the mountain barefoot. It took me 4 hours.
Beautiful.
Yeah. But they all will talk about Mahavtar Babaji.
Mm. Okay.
So, but you have given me such a starting point, Katherine. I don't think you understand what you have just done for me. Because, wow. Wow.
There's something really special there for you. So yeah, go connect with Babaji because
I will go to the Himalayas tomorrow. Out of here.
wow, this is wild. Okay, so beautiful. Let's close up on this. You have a little bit of homework to do, so you're gonna have to keep me posted on what comes forward for you because I'm really excited for that. And actually, again, back to the word integration. There's something there with that experience with Babaji. There's an integration piece that's going to support you. That's kind of what I'm getting. Yeah. Next steps. Yeah.
I think my friend is going to be a really good starting point.
Yeah.
actually. Yeah.
Yes.
Because his full-time job is he works for his guruma.
Okay.
And like, it's insane.
Hmm. Amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. This is, yeah. And that's in Texas?
In Texas? In
Okay.
Houston.
Okay. Wow.
Mhm.
All right. Let me see how Spirit wants to close off today. So we wanted to do a bit of a clearing. Okay. But I also want to call in support as well. So as anytime we clear something, I always want to call in or download energies that are going to leave you feeling complete, and not having a energetic hole per se. So let's see these energies. So the energy that comes through the loudest right now is worthiness that we're going to call in. And the energy, yeah, health, vitality, and wellness. Anything else that wants to come through here? Grace and reverence. Okay, and those are the strongest ones coming through. So what we're going to do is called a divine reset. So I'll just get you to repeat after me. Is there a specific word for spirit or God that you would like me to use, or that you would use? I just use spirit as a general. Everybody's a bit different, but
It's the intention.
yes, exactly. You get it. Okay, so repeat after me. We'll do the return and then we'll do the recall statement here. So I now give back to spirit everything that does not belong to me,
I now give back to spirit everything that does not belong to me,
including the energies of
including the energies of
trauma, patterns, and fields.
trauma patterns and fields.
And just take a deep breath in and let all of that go. I forgive myself for taking on these energies,
I forgive myself for taking on these energies,
and I release myself and all others involved
I release myself and all others involved
to the care of spirit now.
to the care of spirit now.
Take a final deep breath in and out. We'll now do the recall statement. So I now take back everything that does belong to me
I now take back everything that does belong to me
and is in my highest and best good,
and is in my highest and best good,
including the energies of
including the energies of
worthiness,
worthiness,
health,
health,
vitality,
vitality,
wellness,
wellness,
grace,
grace,
reverence,
reverence,
and trust.
and trust.
I forgive myself for giving away my good,
I forgive myself for giving away my good,
and I reclaim all that is for me
and I reclaim all that is for me
with a divine reset now.
with a divine reset now.
I ask that my highest divine blueprint and consciousness,
I ask that my divine
blueprint and
blueprint,
consciousness
blueprint and consciousness
on all levels of my being be restored.
on all levels of my being be restored.
And I release myself and all others involved
And I release myself and all others involved
to the care of spirit now.
to the care of spirit now.
And take one final breath in and out. And just letting that land. Nice. I'll just make sure that the divine reset is 100% complete. Yes. Excellent. Is there anything else that needs to come through today? We are complete. Yeah.
Now in my mind, I'm like, I have a picture of Babaji in my mind, and I'm kind of like, all right, how do I get to you?
Yes. Oh my goodness. This is wild. Yeah. And I'm getting it's through the heart. It's through the heart space that you are going to connect.
You get from here directly up. Like my crown is tingling, and it's a direct like.
Beautiful. I love it. Amazing. Well, thank you so much. This has been so lovely. Thank you for participating and being so open. And all of your stories were so lovely and it was so great to connect. And that's where we'll close this session. If you've made it this far, take a moment to notice if anything landed for you. Have you felt any shifts? What resonated or what brought something into your awareness? These sessions are personal, but they're never just for one person. There's always something here for you too, especially in the places that made you pause. If you're feeling the pull to go deeper, you can find more about intuitive soul sessions, the mind, body, spirit method, and conscious coaching in the show notes. You could also book a session for yourself, or if you're feeling called to learn how to hold this kind of space and do this kind of work with others, you'll also find information on the Conscious Coaching Certification Program. And if this episode spoke to you, I'd love to hear from you. Make sure that you're following the podcast, leave a review, and share this with someone who needs it. We'll see you in the next episode.